Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to BITS Pilani Summer Talks. We are incredibly excited because this is officially the very first summer talk of the year, and we are kicking off the entire season in high gear with our headline session Beyond this Pit Stop. So, over the next 60 minutes, we are deep diving into leadership, sports management, and the sheer grit it takes to build a sports from the ground up.
To launch this year's series, we are deeply honored to welcome a true titan of international sports administration and racing, Mr. Vicky Chandhok. Vicky's footprint on Indian racing is unmatched. He served as the president of the FMSCI for 7 out of 10 years between 2003 and 2013. He is currently the vice president of the Madras Motorsports Club and a trustee of the Madras Motorsports Trust, which governs India's historic international racetrack.
Beyond leadership, he has been a successful entrepreneur in the automobile and sports sector for decades. As a driver, he competed in close to 500 events, winning 360 trophies across open wheel racing, national rallies, and even two wheeler championships.
Vicky, thank you for being our very first guest to open the summer talks this year. It is an absolute privilege to have you with us. A few words, please.
Well, Agrima and Akshat, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it's truly a summer day. Uh, it's really a privilege because I enjoyed speaking to students, point one. Point two is that I started my career when I was a student myself. And it's always enlightening to even whether it's five people or two or 10, I could speak on motorsport and the sport till kingdom comes. This it's a passion. We've been the whole Chandok family is driven by motorsport passion, not just motorsport, but we've been involved in various other sports. I have two sons. One is strictly in motorsport, and my younger son covers cricket, kabaddi. He runs a Mumbai kabaddi team and table tennis and chess, and is also a television presenter for cricket, hockey, and tennis as well. A few things about myself. Okay, just to give you a quick background. Right, I was born into a family of motorsport. Right, my father Indu Chandok, who passed away a year and a half ago, founded the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India in 1972, and also was a founder member of the Madras Motorsports Club back in 1953. So there's a long history. There's a long history from where I come. We used to run motor parts business. That was our family-oriented business. The family started off in Rawalpindi and Karachi in 1919, selling bicycles and hardware spares. We used to sell paint and construction material, and before the family moved to Srinagar in 1921, and operated out of Srinagar in Kashmir, which is now, it all used to be part of Punjab, of course, Rawalpindi and Karachi and everything else, and Lahore. Was where the family was based out of. Then they moved, and my granddad, being the youngest out of his five brothers, was literally kicked down south in 1931. Being the youngest, said, get furthest away. So the joint family business operated out of Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Bangalore, and Madras. So when we moved, the family, I'm a Punjabi, hardcore Punjabi by birth. My wife, who passed away, my late wife, was a Tamilian Iyer. And therefore, while I'm a true, let's say, true Punjabi, and my kids are mongrels. Okay, they're hybrids. They're half Tamilians and half Punjabis. But having said that, well, we ran a motor workshop for about 50 years. We sold cars. We did car dealerships, bike dealerships, things like that. Before we called it a day and went into real estate development of the entire property, which is where we stand today. So my exposure was pretty simple. My father used to race in the 50s. He raced Jaguars and he raced his own specials and things like that. So I grew up watching him race. Okay, I grew up seeing them, seeing my uncle, seeing my whole extended family in the motor parts business, and running a workshop. You always like to get your like to get your dirt under your fingernails. You're tinkering around with cars, repairing cars, fixing cars, and building our own cars. Okay, we had a very strong engineering background. A company called Tamil Nadu Engineering Services, where we built our own cars, designed our own racing cars, and ran it very successfully. We probably had the largest racing and motorsporting team over the decades, and therefore, to a certain extent, I would say that I was born with a little silver spoon in my mouth. Okay, I had the access to facilities. I had the access to. We used to run the commercial workshop till 6 in the evening. After that, we used to tinker around with my cars till about midnight. So that's how I grew up, building cars. And then over the years, in the year I raced, and my last event was against the late Hari Singh, who disappeared in the Maldives. So he and I rallied together in the last national rally in the year 2000. And I used to always tease Hari that we beat him by 17 seconds while he was the national champion. So that was my last outing in a Mitsubishi Lancer car, in active national events till I got called back. The picture that you're showing up on your screen is taken in 2019 when Volkswagen called me to say, look, they would like a legend to drive one of their rally cars, which they had specially built for rallying. So I got back in the driver's seat after 19 years, and I think it never goes away. It's like riding a bicycle or swimming. So I'm glad the feeling came back, and we finished on the podium, finished third as well. So it was a good outing. It wasn't easy, and claustrophobia. Shockingly, I lived all my life in a helmet, but when I had to get in and drive a car after 18, 19 years, wearing a helmet for 2 days, the feeling of claustrophobia was unbelievable. But uh, 2 weeks prior to that, I sat from 4 a.m. till 5:36 every morning, driving this car round and round the racetrack, just to get over the feeling, to get over the fears, to try and understand the mechanicals again and of modern cars. Because when we used to drive, the cars were a little more prehistoric than they are today. But that said, uh, the sport has given me a lot more than I ever thought it would. It's given me a let's say it gave me a focus. It gave me the way to administer large organizations. It gave me an interaction with various institutions all over the world. Gave me an opportunity to travel. I got into administration after that. I got into the judicial part of the sport. I got into the technical part of the sport, and then moved along. So in a nutshell, I may be crossing paths. You may have questions that will come in later, but I would start with giving you that brief introduction. And yes, I was brought in as the president of the Federation of Motorsports Club when it was at its worst suffering. They had lost their sporting power to another rival organization internationally. I was brought in as a firefighter to save the federation. All right. So by default, I became the president for over 8.5 years, but I enjoyed it. I must say, it comes with enough brickbats. You never get praises. It's a honorary position. It's never paid for, and you have more controversies than you do praises. So that said, I mean, all of you be prepared in life. You're in college, so just remember when you're looking out for praises, it's not going to come, right? But you will get all the brickbats coming at you big time. Don't get disheartened. Just keep going. All right. Focus, focus, focus. Right. Stay focused. Go ahead. I leave you now to your next questions.
Yes, sure, sir. That was quite a wonderful journey. So let us start in 1972. You began racing at the legendary Sholavaram track in an everyday family ambassador. By the 1980s, you were competing at Formula Ford and Formula 2 levels across iconic venues like Safdarganj in Delhi and Barrackpur in Kolkata. The starting grids back then were filled with legendary, larger than life figures. You went wheel to wheel against Vijay Mallya, the late Maharaj Kumar of Gondal, and the late S. Karivardhan, alongside international stars like Jim Crawford and Tiff Needle. So, looking back at those legendary figures and unique tracks, what was the sheer mental challenge of managing such intense rivalries, and what did that era teach you about sportsmanship?
Look, I was all of 15 years old in 1972, okay, when I took the family ambassador. Uh, the same car was raced by my mother, all right? They had a ladies' race. And my mother also finished on the podium, or she won the race. I don't even remember. So, but it was it was strange because you had the passion for it, but you don't know how to mix with the legends around you. You know, you have the Vijay Mallyas of the world, you have the Maharaj Kumar of Gondal, you have people from all over the world. We had a gentleman called Dr. Rossi who was racing a Ferrari. He was the chairman of Bisleri, Italy, and South India Viscose. So here I was like a little, you know, 15-year-old waddling my way around, overweight as always, and getting into an ambassador to drive. But the way we enjoyed it around Sholavaram was basically an unused airstrip. It was built for the Second World War as an emergency airstrip to fight the Japanese in case there was a raid in this part of the world. It was an unused airstrip. It was like a cross, but it was changed and formed like a T. So I was glad that my first race I finished second, and my second race I finished third in the Ambassador. That was in 1972. The sportsmanship was fantastic in those days. It wasn't cutthroat. The advantage was every day, every afternoon, everyone got to know. We had over 300 competitors. We had crowds. We had over 70,000 spectators sitting in temporary stands cheering people on. So drivers were so few, but cars were a lot. We used to drive various classes. Result was people were made heroes. All right. That is what motorsport is missing today. People in India were made heroes because there were very few of us that progressed. For example, in 72, after I raced the Ambassador, I said, okay, look, what do we do next? We went out and built a homemade car called the Formula India in 1975 with the Herald engines. So suddenly, here I was building. It was the first of the Formula Indias, along with a gentleman called Suresh Naik of Bombay. We were the first two drivers of the Formula India. A car that we used to drive even on the streets. So driving on the streets of Madras, going on to coffee shops, okay, with an open top car, making a lot of noise. It suddenly felt good. It felt like, hey, guys, I built this car myself. I'm racing it. I'm also driving it on the streets, and it started giving me more and more confidence in life to do things. It kept us busy, kept us designing cars, and then from 75 we raced that Formula India for a while, and then in 1980 I went out to England to a driving school at Brands Hatch, and in 1981 I bought my Formula Ford and flew that back to India for a princely sum of sponsorship. In those days, I got from MRF at 25,000 rupees. It was a lot of money in those days just to fly the car in, race, and take it back. And the first Formula Ford that India had ever seen. So suddenly, from a low-profile ambassador, in 5 years, you've gone high profile. You've started challenging the engineering of the cars. You had to learn how to fix the cars because you can't afford to fly in mechanics at every event. And then I got married in 1982, and literally on a honeymoon or a holiday in England, my wife and I flew off to Scotland one morning and arrived back in the evening after having bought a Formula 2 car. So she was shocked. She had no clue what I was doing on the daytime. So I just flew up from London, went to Edinburgh, bought the car, came back, and the rest was history because Malia, once he discovered that I was buying the Formula 2, decided to bring a Formula 1 because he could. Okay, after all, he was Vijay Malia. And it was a fantastic race against him, my first event. We were leading the race at Sholavaram. I was way ahead of Vijay, and suddenly lost concentration on the 50th lap, spun off. So that shows, you start getting overconfident, you start losing your focus. And Vijay went on to win that race. And till today, every time I meet him, he reminds me of how he beat me. But then the reverse happened in Calcutta, in Barrackpore, where we beat him fair and square. So Karivardhan, my other competitor who got killed in an air crash in 1995, was one of the fiercest competitors and the finest engineers. He was the chairman of the Lakshmi Machine Works, Lakshmi Mills, built his own cars, and he and I got along very well. We were fierce rivals on the track, very dear friends of it. And we had some fantastic racing moments together. The funniest part was when we raced at Safdarjung, we were told in Delhi that we have to race. And we said, okay, we expect big audiences. It's the capital. It's right behind the Prime Minister's house. We went in to race. There were only an audience of two and security people. Why? Because of security protocol, they allowed only Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi to be spectators. They didn't allow any other public in for the sake of security. So it became quite a joke that here's this all of us racing at an airfield at Safdarjung Airport with no spectators, a stand built for about 30,000, 40,000 people, but only two spectators sitting there with security guards. So it was quite ironic that when we were racing in the capital, and then you have two political bigwigs sitting there and a large contingent of security guards looking after them. But it's all been fun. It's all been fun. And Gondal, you know what? In the old days, we had these huge, big cars. We had Formula One, we had Formula Two, we had this Formula 5000. We had these large cars that you would see speeds of 300, 310 kilometers an hour down the straights. And so people came to see that. They loved the sound of that. The racing has got more professional today. The sport has got more professional today. But people are missing seeing that pumping of adrenaline on Indian tracks, because our tracks are more purposeful built. We have only long straights of 400 meters, 700 meters, where you don't see top speeds anymore. The cars are much smaller. Okay, we have Maruti engines and it's smaller cars. So we don't. I would say that the golden era of motorsport was definitely in the 80s. That was the golden era. So, what have I answered your questions, or have I answered yours, or is there anything left in this segment?
No, sir, absolutely. That was very insightful. I would say it was like a very charismatic time that you spent in your early years, sir. But you didn't just stay in the driver's seat. You stepped into the business and management side of the sport as well, right? So, in 1982, you formed the MRF motorsport team and managed their entire program until I think 1989. So later, from 1993 to 2001, you took charge of the JK Tire Motorsport Initiative. So, through the Valley Sports and Research Foundation, your team prepared cars that won the National Rally Championship about 5 times, and you even launched the Maruti 1000 into the scene with a debut victory at the Kodaikanal Rally. So, furthermore, in 1987, you collaborated to launch the Formula Maruti series, creating the foundational ladder for track racing in India. So, Vicky, were you like you were balancing your own spare parts business while managing these massive, corporate racing teams? So, like, how difficult was it in the 80s and 90s, as you said, to convince corporate giant brands that investing millions into the motorsports was a smart move to take?
It wasn't easy. Okay, let me be honest, Agrima. It wasn't easy at all. So when I approached MRF, for example, in 1981 or 82, um, that was when I bought my Formula Ford, and I said that time the late Ravi Maman, who was the managing director of MRF, when I went to him, I said, Ravi, let's get onto racing cars. So he said, no, 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 no. We are not into that segment of sport at all. Okay, right? We'll do events, but we are not into sponsorship. So then what happened was I kind of almost convinced them to look, let's coin a phrase, right? So now he and his marketing team came out with that phrase, which is a catchy phrase even till today. If you see most of MRF's advertising, they hit a slogan. All of us did it together. Okay, we hit a slogan. We coined it over sitting in the corporate office, saying, "How do we exploit the sport? All right, how do we make it work for some?" So then they came out with a slogan: "The tires we race are the tires you buy." Okay, that became a very catchy phrase for marketing. They said, "Hey, okay, now let's enter the sport. Right, we've got a slogan to enter it. Right, we flew the car in. We did the MRF branding across the Formula Ford. It looked fantastic. It really looked fantastic. Then we went on and said, right, we can't run a one car team anymore. We need to grow. Let's see how we can work the sport and use motorsport as our laboratory to develop tires. And MRF did a spectacular job on doing that. They created an entire division, okay, that was handling motorsport. They learned from the sport to improve their product technology, their rubber compounding, the construction of the tires, how to go rayon cords, how to go steel belted. Then the steel belted radial arrived. So the whole development process, we it wasn't just sponsorship, or it wasn't just convincing them to be in the sport. It was how to use the sport for development of their product. That really helped. So then we grew the team into rallying. We grew it into we started entering rallies. We started entering races. We went all around the country as well till 1989. And from 1989, I ran my own with a little support from McDowell in 1993. And when JK's approached me, Mr. Singhania approached me saying, look, we'd like to enter the sport. Okay, can you help us? So then I went up to the late Karivardhan in Coimbatore. We sat down with him and we formed the JK Tire Rally team. By then, MRF was already on their own and running very successfully. So I had no role to play beyond 1989. I set it up. I set up a very strong foundation, and which runs very well till today. And 93, when we set this whole thing up, it was late September, October. And we set up a very large operation for the JK Tire rally team and racing teams. And then, unfortunately, Karivardhan, while testing a Cessna aircraft, crashed in Coimbatore and got killed. So, by default, I had to run the team, which I did till 2001. In fact, till 2010, we ran the JK team. So, JK came in uh, as a competing brand to MRF, seeing how successfully MRF has been using it as a marketing tool. And so they came in themselves saying, look, we'd also like to enter this. And, it's great of them. They became a sponsor for Karun. Internationally, they're a sponsor for Kush Maini today. They were a sponsor for Naren Karthikeyan for a bit. So obviously, the sport is working because there are a few limited people, but the product, you get to test, let's say, tires on a racetrack, which would normally will take you 2 years to test. You can get the results and the feedback from a product, let's say, in 2 or 3 days, right? That's the wear and tear we can get on the racetrack. That's the kind of severe testing we get done. I mean, I go and I did testing for tires very often at nat tracks. For example, we did 12 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours of testing. We've done extensive testing. So the whole thing of bringing in corporates has never been easy. Getting in money, I call myself a professional beggar. All right, in motorsport, I'm a professional motorsport beggar. I beg people to invest in the sport. Okay, that's my main job. Yes, I had a full-time job selling spare parts. 20 days of the month I was traveling to run the family business. And the rest of the time I had to, and we didn't have mobile phone. We didn't have cell phone. We had to make trunk calls from wherever we are. We had to write letters to stay in communication. Then came fax machines. Okay. So, today when you look at it, everything seems to be online. You can live online. You can work online. You can study online. So it wasn't easy. It was a massive challenge, but a fantastic challenge. Mhm. So does that answer you, Agriva?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir,
Go on.
these experiments really set up the modern tire foundations.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
obviously, these experiments that you and latest Kariwardhan set up were really innovative in a sense. So moving forward, in 2005, you were given a massive assignment directly by the Office of the Prime Minister of India. You led the ASEAN Rally delegation, 60 vehicles, 21 days, traveling 8,800 kilometers across 9 countries to establish a historic road link between India and Southeast Asia. That incredible feat of logistics and diplomacy set the stage for your global roles as India's deputy delegate to the FIA and a member of the FIA CIK Karting Commission. You successfully brought events like Formula Campus and Porsche Supercars to India, culminating in your role as the vice chairman of the sports operations for the inaugural Indian F1 Grand Prix. But as we all know, after 3 spectacular years, F1 had to leave India. Vicky, you were in the room with Bernie, the FIA, and the top government officials. What is the true management and bureaucratic story behind how F1 came to India and as of how F1 left India? What future administrators can learn from these tax and policy hurdles?
Okay, Akshit, I will touch upon the Formula Maruti, which I did not earlier, right? Uh, in 1987, Kariwardhan and I were sitting and having a beer in the evening, and we said, look, right, it's motorsport is expensive, right? We had these expensive cars to run, and we were enjoying it, but we said we need to give something back to the sport. So both of us got together, and it took us over a year to decide on what can we do to bring the sport to the people. We then focused and decided because the Maruti had just been launched. You know, that's the Maruti car itself. So I went, sat in Delhi at, I remember the building named Usha Kiran building where Maruti R.C. Bhargava was the chairman, was stationed. I sat outside his room for 3 days in a row. Why? Because I wanted 35 sets of engines and gearboxes from him. And he said, Vicky, if I give you an engine and gearbox, I lose the sale of a car. So I said, no, sir, you have to sell us this. So we bought these engines, we bought these and we subsidized it and sold them at 50,000 rupees to 232 competitors. And that set the stage for single-seater racing in India. Formula Maruti changed the entire perception, and that's how the racing of single seater today is still got a grid of about 40, 50 competitors on the thing. So that I must put down as part of history. It ran from 1987 till probably 2000. Now coming back to your ASEAN bit, when we were approached, we said seriously, but then CII was very involved. Okay, they were very involved, and we had teams from Brunei, all the ASEAN countries, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Malaysia, Singapore, places like that. So we met in Guwahati, and in the stadium, there were 64 cars of ours, and the Indian team contingent, of course, was the largest, so we were called India One. And the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh flew in, flagged us off from there. He was very keen that this road link between the ASEAN countries is exploited and set so that there can be an improvement in trade. So we started off, we entered Burma, and then, Burma with all its political issues, the general decided that we had come as a protester group to fight for Aung San Suu Kyi, who was imprisoned. Okay, they thought we've come to propaganda against her, and they actually locked us down in an open field and said we can't go any further. So we said we are not even going to Rangoon. We are going bypassing Rangoon. They said nothing. They made us sit for 6 to 8 hours in a paddy field. till the great general arrived in a helicopter and then said, "Yes, you can go." We were there in Burma for 3 nights. We were made to stay in school and college dormitories and with the gates locked. Okay, they put us through that. There were a number of ladies and men and all of us. We were sitting behind locked doors, thinking that we are coming there to protest and try and get Aung San Suu Kyi released or whatever. Okay, so anyway, so got through Burma, got to Thailand, we went through Cambodia. It's the first time that Cambodia and Laos allowed right-hand drive vehicles to enter the country. Then the Prime Minister met us in Laos again, okay, to receive us at Laos, and then flagged us off. It was an amazing trip, and we established a very strong road link. Unfortunately, Burma, with its turmoil and its insecurities, is not opening up enough to let the ASEAN trade go through. But can you quite imagine if Burma just let traffic flow through freely? All these ASEAN countries will be well connected. You can the improvement in trade. We ended up in Singapore. All right, after driving through all these countries, it was fantastic. It was the way it set the future for in 2004, 2005. It should have been exploited. Unfortunately, it's worked for countries outside of Burma, between Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Malaysia, Singapore. You're getting enough trade by highways. Okay, India is the loser in this. We have to ship it by sea, right? So I just hope the political bigwigs, get over this and put their foot down in Burma and say, "Look, let's do this." But the Burma being Burma, it will always remain where it is.
So,
And
Sanjay,
then your question on Formula One. Okay, so yes, in 2000, just off the top of my head, I said I will bring Formula One to India. So there were people who said, "No chance, you'll bring it only over our dead body." I said, "Okay, fine, let me try." So curiously enough, we started working, and in fact, Vijay Mallya and I jointly worked on this very heavily together, and we decided to have a road race in Delhi. That's how the Formula One was first planned. Where you do the Republic Day parade in Delhi, we said we'll use the same pathway and run Formula One on the streets of Delhi. Then came the thing that, "Arey, koi minister aega," he will say, "Who's blocked this road? Open the road out. Who's done this?" Which is typical bureaucracy. So we said, "Look, let's not go on the streets of Delhi." In the meantime, JP Group had bought this huge parcel of land, and they sourced me out here in Madras and said, "We'd like you to come on board and be our advisor." So from the day we laid the first foundation stone for the building of the track till the day we inaugurated the track, uh, I I really enjoyed being there. Okay, and that emotion when the race happened, Deepa Malik was sang the national anthem and we actually had tears flowing down our eyes because it happened. It's Formula One came to India. And then came all the taxation headaches, entertainment tax, excise tax, income tax. All the drivers were sent notices saying you're earning money driving in India, you pay income tax. The teams were made to pay income tax. The Formula One management was asked to pay income tax. Finally, after 3 years of all this rubbish, they decided to call it a day and said, "We'll never come back." Now we have revived it. Okay, it's a good thing that hopefully the Formula One can come back because the current government seems to be very sports oriented. The current sports minister seems to be very strongly motivated to bring the finest of whether it's Olympics, whether it's Asian Games, whether it's MotoGP, whether it's Formula One. He wants to bring the top-notch levels of motorsport of any sport back into India. So I think there is now a silver lining on the clouds, and hopefully in the next 3 to 4 years, perhaps we can get Formula One back to India, provided we are not unreasonable and we give them all these tax issues and things like that. It should be a single window clearance. We should welcome them as sportsmen and not look at them as money bags contributing to the government coffers.
Exactly. Like back in 2023, we had the Bharat MotoGP, right?
Right?
So it proved to be a really big success. Ki, if at least F1 couldn't come, then at least we got MotoGP back in. So
Yes.
you still serve as the advisory capacity for the track owners. So with events like these MotoGPs proving successful, what is the realistic operational and financial roadmap required to bring these single seaters racing back to India?
Look, Formula One needs somebody to first of all underwrite their rights fees. The rights fees today range in the region of 40 to 70 million dollars. Okay, so you first have to find, and that's why 21 out of 23 races are funded by the governments. The governments all over the world find it as a good marketing tool because you have an audience of almost 2 billion people watching. All right. So the government has to have the let's say saying, look, this is a great thing. We boast ourselves in India as being a very technologically driven country. I mean, all of you are sitting at BITS Pilani, and you're part of the technology movement. So once we say that, it's only consequential that you should bring the most technologically developing sport in the world, which is Formula One, right? But somebody needs to underwrite that. So when you're talking about 40, $50 million, okay, that's 500 crores. All right. And then to upgrade the facility today, you need a couple of 100 crores, right? Because this facility was last used in 2013. So it's 13 years behind time, right? You are talking initially of about, let's say 700, 800 crores to bring Formula One to India as a first time thing. And then after that, it's still going to cost you 500 crores. But without the government support, I don't think as a private enterprise, it makes any logical sense. That is why all over the world, the governments support Formula One because they see value in it. They see tourism value in it. They see industrial value in it. They see the IT value in it. They see engineering value in it by building around that infrastructure. So if the government can start looking at it from that angle, it'll be a huge success. Mhm.
All right, thank you for answering that, sir. So now let us pivot to the youth. All right. So today there is an absolute obsession with motorsports among students and young adults across India. Right. So we see massive communities hosting watch parties, analyzing race strategies, and following junior drivers as well. But however, transitioning from a very passionate fan to an active participant is a massive hurdle, I believe. So basically, motorsports are notoriously expensive. So many young people feel that unless you belong to an extraordinary wealthy family, professional racing is a closed door. So, sir, do you have you have watched the sport evolve from the accessible days of the late 80s to today's hyper premium ecosystem? So, what are the real world challenges holding back young Indian talent today, and how can corporate India actually change its mindset to sponsor young talent outside of cricket?
Well, I think you've answered part of your question yourself. Okay, that the talent is there, but it's expensive to join the sport. Okay, it's a fact of life. Consequently, okay, sim racing is now coming. Simulators have become a norm, right? Taking on from sim racing, okay, go karting, unfortunately, is expensive. All right, I was shocked to see that kids are spending more on go karting than they are on single seater racing. But the exceptional talent in sim racing, there's a team called Mumbai Falcons that is turning out to be a number of sims all over the country to make the winners or the people from sim racing get a full scholarship into the next phase of actual racing. We are offering now, for example, to get into single seater racing, if you want to do a season in what's called the Formula LGB, a single seater race, it's about 5.5, 6 lakhs for a year, right? To get a corporate to back it, nothing will come close to cricket. right? Because what is cricket done right? Cricket you can play on the street. You give a kid a bat and a ball. Every street corner, the people play cricket. Okay, motorsport that's not going to happen. And in cricket, you have heroes. So unless you start creating heroes in the sport, in motorsport, everyone has to know. They have to have a hero to follow. Then the sport people will go out and start earning money and getting corporates to back them. Because even corporates, like you take your the women's cricket captain, okay? Now Usha fans or what it's a company like Usha Coolers or Usha fans is backing her, right? Because she's become a hero in her own right. The minute you become so it's a chicken and egg situation. You first need the money to become a hero, okay? Once you become a hero, then you get the corporate to back you. So this is a typical story of being in a sport. I mean, the cricket is no different. My younger son played cricket. Okay, he played under 17 for the state. Okay, so even there, he had to fight politics to get into the team. There's no shortcut to it. Okay, you have to have the wherewithal to withstand the pressure, the financial pressure, and the mental and emotional pressure of being told get lost. You know, so you have to have that mental makeup to sustain that pressure. So that's where you've got to be.
Absolutely, sir. So simulators have dramatically lowered the financial barrier to enter into training, as you said. So how can sports bodies use these digital racing to scout raw talent from smaller cities who have never accessed a physical track anytime?
To answer your question very simply, Akshit, the Madras Motorsports Club has now invested in six proper 3D simulators, okay, full motion simulators, right? It's got every single bump you on the racetrack is simulated, every single corner, it's beautifully done. So we've installed six simulators, okay, at our track here in Madras, and it's turning out to be a great boon because people pay 600 rupees and they have a great time, and now we are going to start sim racing amongst themselves. All right, so that's going to start developing the interest, and we're going to make champions even out of that. So let's people like Agrima said, if you don't have deep pockets and you did not born into wealthy families, let's give you an alternate so where you can still enjoy the sport, and simulators fill that vacuum.
All right, sir. So you have shared some very deep insights with us today. But before we move to our final section, we want to clear the track for a very quick rapid fire, high speed rapid fire round. So
Okay,
give us the very first answer that comes to your mind. So are you ready for this?
go on.
I'll like to begin. So, what's the single most beautiful racing machine you have ever laid your eyes on?
The McLaren Formula One of the 80s.
Ambassador, Fiat, or the Ford Escort, which was the most fun to drive during the Himalayan Rally?
Oh, no comparison. Ford Escort.
Okay. So, if you could bring one international racing series to the Madras International Circuit next year, what would it be?
The Asian Le Mans.
The most intense, respected rival you ever went wheel to wheel with on the track?
S. Karivardhan.
And finally, what did it feel like when the green lights went out at the Indian Grand Prix in 2011?
I was sobbing.
And
It
so,
was
one more last question. Yeah.
overwhelming.
Okay. So, one more last question. As we know, the Le Mans will be ending in around 3 hours. So, which team are you rooting for today?
I think between Cadillac, Toyota, and BMW, it's going to be a tight fight. But uh, uh, Brendan Hartley is an old friend. Okay, driving the Toyota, so I'm actually rooting for them.
Okay.
Okay, amazing, sir. Sir, so now we'll be opening the floor to questions from our audience. So if anybody has any questions, they can drop in the chat box.
Sure.
We'll be answering them one by one. You can raise your hands as well if you want to ask something. Yeah, sure. Isha can go ahead. Sure.
Yeah. Hello, sir. It's an incredible honor, first of all, to be able to speak to you. My name is
Thank
Isha.
you.
I am the current team manager for the Formula student team on campus. And as Agrima has put my issues currently very well, it's a quite expensive field to be in. I was hoping to ask you if there's any guidance you can give us, or if we could contact you in the future as well for mentorship or anything like that. Is it possible for us to get your contact?
Sure, Ishad. You can take my contact from Agrima and Akshit, no problems at all. I have mentored various Formula student teams from VIT and a few other places and college institutes as well. I'm in fact in Bhopal at the Hindustan Technology or something next month. Okay, to be a judge somewhere. I have also been at some Baha events, right? So I'm quite aware of Formula Student. I think it's a great way to go, and I'm more than happy to give you any pieces of advice that are needed.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Also, one more thing is quite a few students who are here today are from the team itself. So, any words of encouragement for them would go a long way.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the Formula student, what I'd really like to see is that everyone coming out and doing an actual event, right? We do have Formula student events. I know all of you do, and we have judging and so on and so forth. But what I'd like to ultimately see is that from all groups of people, you make a Formula student vehicle to a certain weight, right? Using whatever mechanicals you want, build it to a certain weight, and then come and compete on track. Right? For example, if we give you a weight limit of 300 kilos, right? Do what you like with it. Come out with whichever engines you want, whether it's bike engines, car engines, do what you like. Okay, come out and do a product development. So you work it out. You work out what power outputs you need, what kind of mechanical grips you need, what kind of aerodynamics you need to do. Build something, and then have a Formula student outing, and we'll be more than happy to have that on our track here.
Thank you so much, sir. I am looking forward to being in touch with you. It's
Sure,
an honor.
anytime.
Okay, so Suvid has dropped a question. If someone wants to begin rallying after college, what should be the ideal path?
So we have two kinds of rallying. One is called time, speed, and distance (TST), which is rubbish. Okay, it's more entertainment. But to get into rallying, we've got four categories of rallying cars. One is called super stock, which is where you use a standard car but built-in safety measures, right? So to get a feel of rallying, you enter something called autocross, which is an off-road area where it's run in an arena. So you get a feel of what it is like to go rallying on dirt. Once you get that kind of a feel and you know what it's all about, then it whets your appetite. And just remember that again, rallying is not going to be cheap. So you can rent rally cars today, which you could not do earlier, so which is a good thing. But if you ever want to go on rallying, the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India, FMSCI, has a comprehensive website. Please go there, look at it. If you have any further questions from there, feel more than happy to give me a call. Incidentally, currently, I also serve as the chairman of the Indian Rally Commission on behalf of the Federation.
All right. Ayush's question is, sir, apart from the financial and taxation aspects, a lot of logistic and visa issues plagued the MotoGP in 2023. So, what can we do operationally and infra-wise?
Single
Also,
window
given the
clearance.
British dominance in motorsports, especially F1, most engineers and teams are based there. Is there any real pathway into motorsports? Maybe logistics or operations, a route that may not involve the UK as an unavoidable compulsion?
Look, by default, UK is the home of motorsport. Okay, There's no running away from that fact. But now, or if you look over the last 5 to 8 years, even last 10 years, there's a large influx of Indians. There's a large population of every team in Formula One has Indians, as engineers, as electronics, as electrical, as logistics planners, as IT, as aerodynamists. Every team is now hiring Indians. Right. So other than just driving and the motorsport, the teams have opened up. As far as this thing of promoting and how to have all these visa issues have been a massive issues because 99% of the people think that they can just arrive and the visa is available on arrival. So it's more procedural. People need to be told, and we need a single window clearance for events. Let all sportsmen who are accredited arrive and get their visas on arrival. That'll get over that. And as far as the British dominance, good for them. They've created that for themselves. They're absolutely stellar teams there. Everyone is so committed, and that's the reason British motorsport has grown.
Okay, any more questions by anyone? Okay, I don't think there are any more questions. Okay, so this has been an incredible hour, sir. From navigating an ambassador in 1972 to building foundational racing series, leading diplomatic international rallies, and managing an F1 event on the world stage. So your career is a masterclass in passion and leadership.
If any of you ever are in Madras, take a look at our calendar, take a look at our Madras Motorsports Club website. If you're ever in this part of the world and you want to see an event, feel free to give me a call or send me a message, and I'll be happy to host you all.
All
Yes,
right, thank
I
you so
think
much, sir, for your.
we have a final question from Shravan.
Go
So,
on.
what master's program, which universities would you recommend we do after the completion of our undergraduate degree to get into the motorsport engineering?
Shravan, my, I keep joking and telling people my degree is called MABFIAS. That stands for matriculation appeared but failed in all subjects. Okay. So, but having said that, okay, uh, I there is there is no fixed university you can recommend. I mean, there's Cranfield, there's Stanford. These have motorsport engineering segments. They are very strong engineering motorsport engineering programs. And now a lot of colleges and schools are opening up to motorsport engineering and motorsport management as well. So England is still the place to go to. All right, let me be honest. So pick anything. Oxford itself has 2 or 3 universities, the city of Oxford, that have a very strong motorsport program. And after your undergrad, I would suggest you look at yeah, you can look at the UK. Certainly look at the UK.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your honesty, your incredible stories, and your lifelong dedication to putting India on the global sporting map. And a massive thank you to everyone who tuned in and engaged so actively in the chat today. What an incredible way to start the season. So keep supporting Indian sports, look out for grassroots talent, and as always, drive safe. Also, we'll be dropping the feedback form link in the chat box, so please fill for the same. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care, all
Thank
of
you.
you. Have a great weekend. Okay. Bye.
Bye.